can't play, I can't write music. Yet every day and every night I created my system is rhythm, simplicity and melody. My tunes are happy and the music sweet. If you don't dig the melody, you will dig the beat. I make music, yeah, sweet music. I'm feeling your mind and your body, the sky is this music, 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 yeah. Sweet music, hey, hey, hey. No matter what you say or do, the magic of my music, that's music, yeah. Sweet music, hey, hey, hey. Dig it, dig it. I try to be totally musical. Music. That's why, you see, I'm super sensational. Music. The spirit of music possesses me entirely, bringing out naturally from within my soul sweet musical harmony from beyond this world. And I make music, yeah, hey, 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 hey. Sweet music. I'm feeling your mind and your body, the sky is this music, 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 yeah. Sweet music, yeah. No matter what you say or do, the magic of my music, yeah. Music, 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 yeah. Sweet music. Hey, 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 hey. Music, 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 yeah. Revolution in song is my goal. A rhythm for the young and the old. Pulsating, exciting, music to jump, music to romp. Anytime or anywhere when my music plays, you got to lend an air, makes you move and sway. I make music, yeah. Sweet, sweet music. Hey, hey, hey. I'm feeling your mind and your body, the sky is this music, 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 yeah. Sweet music. No matter what you say or do, the magic of my music, yeah. Music, yeah. Sweet music.
Because he has set his love upon me.
say a special good night to those of you joining us via Facebook tonight. And let me just get into the names here once it's loaded. Yeah, so let me say a special good night to, and I'm going to start from the top tonight instead of starting here. So, June Julian, good night to you. Christine Adams, cousin Adams, good night to you. Marcel Hostin, Davis Charles, Dennis Fabio, Lashlyn Douglas, Kisha Carla Walcott, good night to you. Red Girl Pascal, Antonito Peters, good night to you. Esther Peters, good night. Davis, well, no, I called out Davis already, but I guess I can't do it. Nice. Kenisha Charles, good night to you. Teresa Collymore, Charmaine Ragbasing, Cecilia Lewis, Charmaine Thomas, Olive McEwen, yeah. Jill Williams, Sean Algeri, Joycelyn Francois, Nimrod Olivier, bro, good night to you, bro. Donna Langdon, Tevin, yeah, it's Tevin, yeah, Tevin Simon Landon. I'm seeing all of you there. Let me see, Justin Charles, Marishan Bernard, Rachel Sabazan, Curlin J. Samuel, good night to you. Yvette Wells, Maudlin Bartholomew, Kishon McSween. Let me see, I'm sure I missed one or two people in between here, you know. Yeah, I'm sure I missed one or two people in. What me say do pass you? Keda Joseph, good night to you. And Shemi. All right, and let me see over on the YouTube. Wilfred Antoine, Public Notice, Shajan John, Deborah Laborde, Jackie Raymond, yes, Phyllis Mitchell, Kathleen Knights, Miriam Samuel, good night to you, Gavis Thomas, Gloria Francois, Gemma Warwood, Henry Shaiton, Anne-Marie Celestine Grant, Lystra Abraham, Kathleen Ledlow, Clive Raymond, Brother Clive, Sherma Jeremiah, Beavis John, Vanessa Lalji, Veronica Lewis, Agnes Henry, Good Life, good night to you, Alban Harris, Baby Daddy, Sandra Pascal, Errol Bonaparte, Hazel JP, good night, Eliza Bernard, Alcy Peters, good night, Samuel John, Christina Otley, Devin Charles, Janice Mitchell, Stephanie John, Deborah Labode. I'm sure I called Deborah name already, you know. Yeah, right? Carol Beggs, good night to you. Marilyn Ferguson, Devin James, Adrian Watts, Gertrude Abraham, Oswald Belfon, Emerson Edmond, Jocelyn Matthew, Nicole Hamilton, Jacinta Livingston, Hillary Grenade, Grenade, right, I hope I'm saying it properly. Ron Julian, April Fletcher, Alan George, Teresa Alexander, Maria Marcel, Gleason Clovey, Marie, let me see, Lola Williams, Angie, good night, Hermina Batiste, Faithlyn Halley Douglas, and let me see, Carl, Dave Felix, Roland Batiste, Matthew Bowen, Kevin Sky, Sandra Pascal, Anastasia Peterson, Ashroy Telesford, Harrow Ogilvy, and let me see if I forgot yet, Ruth out there in London, good night to you as well. Wallan Akwat, I'm seeing you over on the Facebook now, Bala, good night, brother. Yeah, and Fluffy, I know you're listening. You and the wife, I know both of you listening, I sure the wife name I called out a little while ago there, yeah. Doc Anderson, Sonia Prince, good night. Sherry Noel, Veronica, Frederick, Small Axe to cut down big tree, yeah? Nice, good night to you, Small Axe. And let me see, Malika, good night to you. Figgy, good night to you as well. Yeah, seeing all of you coming up on the live. You know what? Let me hit them a oldie goldie there again, and we go touch one, yeah. Yo, let's find out going old school tonight, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just have to go real old school, you know.
It's fine to a bed in the hospital. Yeah. And we can't hear a word from Health Minister Kamal. Whoa. Black dirty water we have to drink. Water safe clean, but the smell is stink. And my friend, money ain't a problem. My friend, you're shouting, money ain't a problem. Whoa. Yeah. You can't even use your phone to dial a friend. Yeah. All the pose in a mess and it's like nobody care. Whoa.
Good night to you, Joyce. I know you're locked in. I saw your message. Good night to you.
This is the Caribbean Vibes channel.
The AG started a drive to stop corruption. Yeah.
And let me say a special good night to all the listeners via We Noise Radio. Yes, 94.9 out there in Brooklyn. And also We Noise Radio online. Saying a special good night to all of you. You know what? We're going to keep the phone lines open for the entire program tonight. So the phone lines are open from now. 440-7377. You can call direct or you can call via WhatsApp. Yes, it is working. And you can also call us on 347-329-3101. That's our overseas line. So you can call us on both of them. The phone lines are open, yeah? Don't say you're going to call me 1 minute to the 10 o'clock hour. You know? Yeah, all you know, especially that rain and thing, yeah. Velma, good night to you, huh?
Our roads are the worst in the Caribbean. We have the most traffic jams you have ever seen. Yeah. When it rains, mother spending pain. Them drain on the strain, so it's flood again. My friend, don't need money ain't no problem. Yeah. My friend, the boy, money ain't no problem. Ooh. Yeah. Public transport in this wealthy country so bad. Yeah. Trying to get home, don't eat.
And folks, I'm still getting messages of some weird things that happened during the CPEA exam and the results and that sort of thing. And I think probably I would make the suggestion. I would humbly make the suggestion. And I'm making the suggestion not because I want to put anybody into an embarrassing position, not because I think I know better than anybody, but I think that at least the students and their parents deserve some answers. Because you're hearing situations such as children being sent to schools that they did not have in their choice list. So you have a situation where there is a child that's located in St. David that's actually placed in a school in St. Patrick that they did not have down as one of their choices. So it can't be zoning. They could never say it's zoning if the child, is a child that's based in St. David. The school they went to, they live, they reside in St. David. And they're placed in a school that they did not have down as one of their choices in St. Patrick. Yeah? You have the same situation taking place with a child in South St. George who did not apply for a school in St. David but is being sent to a school in St. David. So now the parent has to find that bus money to make sure that they can leave the south, go to town, or at least get to the Kirani James Boulevard and try to get a bus by the gas station, the Otway service station, and get up to St. David. Yeah? So I know many, many parents. In fact, this is the year I think they probably have the most people looking for transfers. So some funny things took place there. Even in putting out the reports, yes, some weird things have taken place there. And they really need to check on that. At least have a press conference and tell people what went on. We have a caller online. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon Scott. And how are you?
I am fine.
Are you fine?
Yes, I'm fine. You're
talking about rain. When rain falling, wind does blow to you now.
The wind of change?
Well, I hope you ain't blowing in your direction, though.
Hopefully
Listen,
not. Mm-hmm.
We have them Bible ones to start with.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the life jacket. Number 10. And the education minister. All them have Bible in their hand, you know. I hear you talking last night about lie. 4 lie you said, you know.
4
so
alone?
Put a next one there.
4 alone in one go? I maybe say, I'm sure if you count the amount of lie I said during that program last night, you get about 200.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about how you can
in a row.
lie. That's 4. We can't live with that. So let us do something to change it from tonight. So you start it, and then I'm going to put my input, and then Antonito is going to come in. I know he's going to come in after me. And we're going to get the ball rolling. Okay?
All right, my brother.
All right.
Thank you so very much. No, but I mean, there's a lot of lies taking place. We heard the Minister of Education saying one thing, saying that how they did meet with key stakeholders. The only way that would not be a lie is if he's saying that the Grenada Union of Teachers is not a key stakeholder. Because if you're speaking to the general public and you make a statement saying that we have met with key stakeholders and you have not met with the folks from the Grenada Union of Teachers who represent the principals, who represent the other educators, meaning they represent as well all of the teachers, yeah? If you're saying that you represent them and they have not met with you, then they don't consider you a key stakeholder. We have a call online. Good night.
Good night, children.
Hi, good night.
How are you doing?
I'm quite fine, but you're very, very low for some reason.
I don't know. I'm speaking loud.
Let me I'm raising it on my end and hopefully it won't thing. But go right ahead. I'm hearing you properly now. Go ahead. Whoa, you've gone totally low again.
Properly, or I don't know why I'm low. But I'm hearing.
You're back
but
good
anyhow,
now.
listen. If somebody, you're going down the road, and somebody says to you, "Wow, you're looking good. You're looking real good." The person shouldn't just tell you you're looking good. The person should tell you how or in what areas you're looking good. So the person said, "Whoa, you're looking good. I like your outfit. I like your hairstyle." So you know definitely your outfit and your hairstyle, your outfit and or your hairstyle makes you. I listen to some people commending the Honorable Prime Minister, and they're telling him, "You've done well. You've done well." And I am wondering, is it he alone or his team? Because you don't hear you saying, okay, your administration have done well. Your administration did a lot of work. Only you. All the emphasis is placed on you. But all they're saying is that you have done well. You have done extremely well. But they cannot say what is the well. How is the well? What is in the well? Only you have done well. You've done well. We are proud. We are this, we are that. But they cannot say.
Well, you know what's very interesting, huh? I've listened the Prime Minister's interview on Monday night on Beyond the Headlines on GBN. I've listened the entire thing about two, three times, right? I've listened his interview on WeFM today. I did not listen the entirety of his performance on Boss FM, simply because I think it was a more gimmicky kind of thing. I don't think it was a serious interview. I think it was just kind of joke thing, and so I didn't pay too much attention to that. I also listened to his interview on Power FM with Aruna, and you know, I tend to agree with what you're saying in that the focus was on him and not his team. In fact, I can't say that I heard reference to members of his team. I didn't hear him calling names.
No.
I didn't hear him call a name of any of the members of his team. If he did, it must have been slipped past me, but it's not. I didn't hear him referring to anybody.
Not at
None
all.
of his ministers, the performance of his ministers, I didn't hear anything like that. That was clear.
I can't understand. I just don't know. I can't understand. You telling him he did well. He did extremely well.
But they paid to say that.
In what areas he did well?
But they paid to say
In
that.
what areas he did well?
My dear, they're paid to say that. And those that are not paid to say it,
no.
remember, they have
They're paid
serious
to say that.
interests.
They are paid to say that. I know they are paid.
And some of them have serious interests. Some of them that they like to call the radio in the morning time, you know who the children is. You know the children have about 5 or 6 jobs, and most likely may have become multi-millionaires between last year and this year under this administration. So they must call. So you expect that kind of thing.
As somebody would have said, they pay to do the job and they still go in and wrong and beg NMP people for work. Have a good night.
All right, my dear. Thank you so very much for your input. Yeah, and it's only as the caller called, I realized that, hey, I did hear the Prime Minister's, those different things, but that was missing. It was all about him, and I was not hearing references to the other ministers. To say, for instance, Minister so-and-so is doing an excellent job, and we want to commend Minister so-and-so for the excellent job that they're doing. I wasn't getting that. I wasn't hearing any of that during those interviews. You weren't getting that. It was simply a situation where you were hearing him, and it was all about him, and the Prime Minister is doing an excellent job, and so on. And in fact, it seems as though they are saying that he's doing such an excellent job that he begins to believe it, because I want you all to hear something here. Let me see if I can cue. I just had to cue the thing up on them. So let me cue it up here, and let me just pull across here. I want you all to take a listen to this.
Right. And you mentioned that a lot of you who went into this went in first time, after assessing performances, strengths, and opportunities of the ministers, are we likely to see a cabinet reshuffle in the near future?
No. In the immediate future, no, I don't think there'll be any cabinet reshuffle. I think at the management level within the ministries, one of the things I told all permanent secretaries when we went in is that obviously, from a professional perspective, we didn't know each other. They didn't know us. We didn't know them. I think for all of us, it will be a sort of 12-month period of feeling out, getting a sense of making sure we have square pegs and square holes, wrong pegs and wrong holes. But also crucially, because, we certainly, I think, have shown a commitment to trying to address the issues that affect public workers. We can take examples of how quickly we've been able to sign collective bargaining agreements with most of the unions for significant wage increases and so on, so that we're prospective in our approach to wage payments rather than always being retrospective and late and that sort of thing. But it also means that at the management and senior leadership within the public service, that we need buy-in from the public servants on this transformation agenda. In other words, you're a permanent secretary, a senior manager in the ministry, you have to want to believe that Grenada needs energy transition and want to pay your part. If you don't, and we're struggling and we're fighting with you, then basically we're hitting our head against the wall. So we need the buy-in, without doubt, from the public servants to make sure that happens. So in that sense, there certainly will be ongoing assessment to make sure that we have the right fit to deliver on the transformation agenda.
So, folks, what we're hearing there is that he's saying no cabinet reshuffle. Remember, we have a Minister of Foreign Affairs who was unable to receive the same benefits that other Caribbean countries received when it came to the ability of Grenadians who hold a U.S. visa to not have to go through the process of obtaining a Canadian visa since they already hold a U.S. visa. Or if they have held a Canadian visa within the last 10 years, that they would not have to reapply to go and get a new visa. They would be exempted from having to get a visa again, right? Our Minister of Foreign Affairs is incompetent. Yeah? All the other islands, with the exception of Dominica, were able to get theirs. Here in Grenada, we did not. What has been the achievement of our Minister of Foreign Affairs? The greatest achievement? He find work for some of his friends and them. I ain't saying all the diplomats that go out there is a waste of time, but he find work for members of the party and friends. That's what they find. Had to go out and be diplomats and represent and take down Trinidad and certain places. Nice. All well and good. The other achievement, he went and he paid one of the factions in Libya. They went and they paid them money that they say Grenada owed since the Grenada Revolution. Remember, there are about 3 governments, maybe 4 by now, in Libya. Libya is basically a failed state. So there are about 3 or 4 governments, one government in one part, the next government in the next part. There's not a unified government for what used to be Libya. And he decided to encourage his government to go and pay one of the factions. So once there's a unified government, they can always say, well, listen, you pay that faction who we run out. and you still owe the state of Libya. That is his main achievements, nothing else. Yeah? I showed you all the other night. I showed you all of the stuff that was available from that meeting with the US. You hear you come back and say you get anything? Let's have this call online. Good night.
Hey, good night, Brother Sheldon.
Hi, good night. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, man.
Okay, go right ahead.
Brother Sheldon, they have done well in manufacturing lies from the lab and to deceive the Ghanaian people. And they continue to make up lies to deceive the people again. Because when you look at the track record of this government, what good thing they have done to the poor class of people in the country? What they have done is to make them poorer and poorer every day. Make them put the country back on the back foot. Make the Grenada was a shining example before the 2022 election, but now Grenada left is stuck. Grenada going back on the back foot. Like play a game of cricket, you bowl a ball to a man come forward, we can't come forward. Back, keep going. And when I hear the government talking about they done well where? They dig a well to put water, that was what? Is this what they're about? What is the well they do? All what they do is to make the people of the country more miserable. And what achievement they could say they achieved for the forecast of the country? Because people life was much better than it was. It was before the last election. The last election, the people have become worse and worse every day. And people catching the hair, people who have turned to maintain and to send to school, they take away the job from them. They take away the job from both husband and wife, but yet they still have the children to go to school. You have done well in that. You lie to the people and tell them you're going to make them permanent. That is well done. You said to the people again that none will go home. Everybody will be permanent. This is the well you do, right? And you continue to lie, right? To the Ghanaian people. This is the well you do. And there's something else to say. Self-praise. When a man deserves praise and he gets it, and accepting him. This is a man who just want praise for himself. But when a man who deserves something and give him, it will not shine, it will not last because he don't deserve it. So I want to say to the Ghanaian people, alright? There's a time coming. A man can't reign forever. Alright? I want to say we have to do what we have to do. Go out, get registered, encourage your family to go out and vote. And one of the things again, we have to educate the Ghanaian people about the trickeries and the lies and the deceit of this government. Brother Sheldon, have a good night.
All right. Thank you so very much, caller. And I just wanted to say too, no matter if he shuffle, he don't shuffle, no matter how they shuffle or they don't shuffle, you're still ending up with a bunch of jokers. That's all you're ending up with is a bunch of jokers. No matter how they shuffle that pack, all you're going to end up with is a bunch of jokers. Maybe the Prime Minister has realized that it's only a bunch of jokers that he have, so it don't make sense to go and shuffle the pack just to put another joker in a position that they're going to joke in. Because there is no minister that could point and say that they have performed honestly. None. Yeah? He for himself was Minister of Finance. What a major achievement. He say, okay, they've been speaking about we pay the pension, and that is going to have such a great effect on the Grenadian economy. Have you all felt the effect of paying the pension on the Grenadian economy? Business people, have you all felt the effect? Business people in St. Andrew, business people in St. Mark, St. Patrick, up there in Carriacou, Petit Martinique, have you all felt the effect of paying how much millions they've paid into the pension? Nobody is saying that they ought not to pay it, but don't come to try and convince us that paying the pension was something that changed the Grenadian economy, because that is what they were preaching before. That is what they were preaching after they won election, before the pension was paid. That is what they've been preaching since the pension has been paid. And up to now, the average Grenadian cannot see these benefits that they're speaking about. Again, no one is saying that they ought not to have paid. No one is saying that it was not a good thing to pay. But we're saying stop lying to us and trying to give us the impression that paying the pension changed the Grenadian economy totally. That didn't happen. It did not happen. Yeah? I even hear them speaking about the IMF report. And so let me tell you all something. All the IMF report they're taking credit for. Let's clearly understand who should be given the credit for the IMF report for the year 2022. In November of 2021, the new National Party of Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell's government, they put through Parliament a budget for the year 2022. In other words, the fiscal measures, the spending, and so for the year 2022 was under the new National Party. It was not under a NDC budget. We are only now for the last 6 months under an NDC budget for 2022. Even for the 6 months and 7 days that the NDC was in office of 2022, which means they were in office for a longer period of time than the new National Party last year, they were operating under an NNP budget. And therefore, the fiscal measures which are receiving praise from the IMF, the proper management of the fiscal space here in Grenada, the economic space here in Grenada, all of the praise that you see was being given is off of a budget that was put together by Gregory Bowen as Minister of Finance and the new National Party administration. When they came in, they met a budget. That's how they were able to do things. It's not like the new National Party that came in 2013, and when they came in, there was no budget. Let me repeat. When the new National Party took office in 2013, there was no budget. That is why the new National Party had to convene Parliament so quickly. No rest. You had to put up a team together and convene Parliament. And then quickly pass a budget. Because there was no budget. That was what the NNP was handed in 2013. These individuals were handed a well-managed economy with a lot of money. And they said they meet the treasury pregnant. And so, yes, they met a pregnant treasury, a well-managed economy. That is what they met. What they have done to it since then is another story. You're hearing about over $1 million just in travel alone. That's what we're hearing. Over $1 million just in travel. And all sorts of other extravagance. Come in, they decide they can't work for, within 6 weeks are coming in, they didn't even get their foot wet in the work yet. But they gave themselves an increase because they decide they can't work for that money. So you have all of these things that they did. And then you see the negative parts of the IMF report are off of things that they did. For instance, the removal of the 150. The IMF told them that they are now doing the recertification of all the people under the seed program, that when that process is completed, should it be a situation that you have less people under the seed program, that you use the savings because you have less people under the seed program, and that you use those savings to give back people the 150 that they were getting. The IMF said it in their report, that what they should do is any savings realized through the recertification process that is taking place with the seed program should be passed back on to the people who are within seed. In other words, you all should not have taken out the 150. Years ago, when you hear about the IMF used to be the people that come into your country and tell you, hey, cut that social program. You see that program where you're helping poor people, they cut that. You're spending too much money in this area, spending too much in that area. But in Grenada's case, the IMF is saying, put the money back. Give it back to the people. And I want them to tell me no, because remember, we have the video with the lady from the IMF, I can't remember her name, that was saying exactly that. That any savings that are realized from the recertification process of the seed program should be given back to the people under the seed program. So you had an incompetent minister, remember, that went in December and say we keeping the 150. In other words, we are continuing what was supposed to have continued because you are doing a new budget. And then, less than 6 weeks later, for some reasons always around a 6-week period, less than 6 weeks later, when people went to collect the seed money, that 150 was gone. Lie again. And then lying to try and cover it up by trying and twist people as to what is the vertical expansion of the seed program and what is the horizontal expansion of the seed program. Yeah? So these are some of the achievements that they have, that they're talking about. I for instance, I heard the Prime Minister speaking. I'm going to play this one for you. I heard the Prime Minister speaking in one of his interviews in relation to when he was asked about the Canada visa issue. And I was hearing him speaking and saying this. Let's just go over to hear what he had to say.
And it was in the news last week, I think it was, that Grenada's management or mismanagement was the accusation of the CBI, is what led to the non-inclusion of Grenada when the Canadian government made the announcements as to which countries were now becoming visa exempt. How do you respond, one, to that? And you don't necessarily have to focus on that, but certainly share with us what you believe may have caused Grenada not to be included in the list of countries that no longer require visas. And was there a sidebar that took place in the Bahamas during the CARICOM heads of government meeting when Prime Minister Trudeau was down, that you probably might have been out of the room and could not lobby as strongly for Grenada's inclusion?
No, so let me say that by the time Prime Minister Trudeau got to the Bahamas, he had already announced that the Canadian authorities would be saying what their position is on the issue of visa waiver requirements or electronic authorization to enter Canada. So frankly, the meeting in the Bahamas would not have changed the course of what the Canadians were going to say. So in effect, at the meeting, we were told that in the next several weeks, Canada would announce its position. So that did not change that. Two, I would prefer not to say why the Canadians did what they did. I think it's really for the Canadians to speak to that, and I am not going to speculate. Right. Thirdly, no, it is not because of Grenada's. I can say this certainly. Well, first of all, our CBI program, at least since we've been in office, has not been mismanaged, and it is not because of that. As you're aware, several of the countries which are included on the list, St. Kitts, Antigua, have CBI programs, and I'm sure if you do a search of potential scandals around CBI, you may find Grenada doesn't feature highly on the list. But I want to go back to the fact that Grenada once had the visa waiver requirement and why subsequently it was imposed. And it is the former administration's complete mishandling of the offshore sector, which was a complete and utter disaster that created the situation. And Grenadians have regrettably had to live with this at significant cost and inconvenience over the last several 15 or more years. Right? So from where we sit as a government, we will certainly be doing everything to continue lobbying for Grenadians to resume visa-free access to Canada, or at least the electronic travel authorization to Canada. In the interim, the Canadians have pledged their commitment to having more frequent visits to get the biometrics, because that's one of the main concerns. It's not so much that you have to get a visa, but the fact that there is no visa processing center in Grenada, and there is in St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Trinidad, for example, and you have to take a plane and go to one of these places, incur the costs, the hotel, etc., just to get the biometrics done. So we certainly will continue working with our Canadian partners to address whatever issues they may have, to satisfy them that Grenadians are persons who, I think by all accounts, when they do visit Canada, or for those who have migrated to Canada, have been upright and contributing citizens who have reached the high heights of all Canadian society that Canadians themselves could be proud of. So we are quite confident that when the next opportunity arises for a review of Canada's visas waiver requirements, that there ought not to be any reasons why Grenada should not be included on the list.
Okay.
So, folks, several things there. One, when it came to that particular meeting that Mr. Colin Dow is asking about there, that meeting in the Bahamas, I didn't see the Prime Minister at that meeting. The Prime Minister didn't admit that he wasn't there. He didn't admit that he didn't meet with Prime Minister Trudeau. Instead, he one of his lawyer tactics. He just went into another scope of the question without first of all saying, hey, I wasn't there. That should have been the first thing that came out of his mouth. Because here it is, you had the announcement made before that meeting. You had the opportunity to attend that meeting. Meet the Canadian Prime Minister. He didn't meet the Canadian Prime Minister. He didn't go. You had the opportunity to go and meet the Canadian Prime Minister, interact with the gentleman, speak with the gentleman and say, hey, how you could do Grenada this? The other countries get, why Grenada? Yeah? Because remember, and let me just give you a little, this is who was at the meeting, eh? Yeah, that's Mr. Handel right there, the incompetent Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was at that meeting. I didn't see the Prime Minister picture, and so anyway, I saw Mr. Handel. Let me see where else. I saw Mr. Handel in this photo as well. He is the second from your left in the back. Yeah. Behind the very rotund lady there who happens to be Mia Motley. Right. So that is Mr. Handel there, not Mr. Deacon Mitchell. So who meet with Mr. Justin Trudeau? If I only seen Mr. Handel, I think the Prime Minister would have go and Mr. Handel would be the one standing up with the leaders' pictures and all that kind of thing. So from the time he heard the question, his first thing should have been, I was unable to meet with him. At this time, I would find another opportunity when I can speak with him. I have phoned him. I have spoken to him on the issue. We are speaking with the Canadians. And so instead, no. Go and try to blame NNP. Every other Caribbean island, yeah, that were given the thing, they had visa restriction too, not just Grenada. So it was not just that the Canadians look at Grenadians and say, hey, we're restricting Olia and Olia alone. They restricted the other islands too. You saw St. Vincent, Trinidad, St. Lucia, St. Kitts. All these other islands were also restricted. Yeah? All these other islands were also restricted. So for them to give the impression that it was Grenada alone that had a visa restriction on them, and it's because of something that the New National Party do, and the Canadians come and they put a visa restriction on Grenada because Grenada had a visa restriction because they had an offshore program. All the other countries had offshore thing too, and they had a lot of things take place in theirs the same way that things took place in Grenada. They took place in other countries with offshore program. That's why none of them have an offshore, none of us have an offshore program right now. And then, when contacted recently by a good friend of mine in relation to the issue, the Canadian authorities have said some of the reasons that they have a visa restriction on Grenada are because Grenadians tend to go to Canada and not come back. Yeah? That's one of the reasons that they had, that Grenadians tend to go and not come back. And they've asked, when asked about the present situation, why some of the other countries have had that, basically that restriction removed and Grenada and Dominica still have it, what are some of the criteria that were used to decide whether Grenada or the other countries would be given the opportunity to have that restriction removed? They said the security of your passport. In other words, the security of your passport. And we know that Grenada officially announced that they were taking Russian citizens at a point in time that Russia was and remains under sanctions by the United Nations and so for the invasion of Ukraine, right? And then you were having situations that you had quite a number of people from some other countries that are simply restricted from entering Canada under normal circumstances, were using Grenadian passports to do that. So Grenada, because you want to go out there and say that you're taking Russians under your program, they decided that's what they're going to do. So they said your passport, if Grenadians are people that tend to go to Canada and go back in the place is one thing. But if you go and you stay is another thing. And they looked at, there's a slew of criteria that they look at. But Colin Dow wouldn't ask that question because number one, Mr. Dow, and I see some of you in the comments there, we have to understand something here. Colin Dow is not a journalist. He's not a journalist. He has no training, no background as far as I know. Probably worked in a media entity years ago, but he's not a journalist. The kind of questions I would ask, he would not ask. Yeah? And remember, it's GBN too, so you understand what does go on there. So he would not ask the kind of questions that we would ask. He has not done the investigative work that we would do to be able to ask the kind of questions we would ask. And it's not saying that you put the Prime Minister into a position where you want to embarrass him. It's not about that. You should never be putting your Prime Minister into a position where you want to embarrass him. It's about getting the truth in relation to the issues that he's speaking about and exposing the lies as they are. And we all know, we don't think, we are not guessing. We know that because of what the NDC administration was doing in relation to selling passports to individuals from Russia and Belarus, those are the reasons that Grenada was not given the same access to Canada that the other islands have been given. Don't try and put the blame on something that happened back in 2001 after 9/11, when everybody was locking down and locking up and all kind of thing. Don't try and put it back there. Take your blame. Your Minister of Foreign Affairs is incompetent, and so are you for keeping him there. And then people asking you about cabinet reshuffle and they say, no, come on. It's a clear case. It's a clear case that that is the situation. With the Dominicans, they may have Russians as well. They just probably have not announced that they're taking Russian citizens. But Grenada announced it. Yeah, they let it be known. So when you're checking all the blogs from late June, early July last year, in relation to the citizenship by investment programs and their various websites and so, there was an article there where they spoke to the head of the CBI program here in Grenada where they're saying, yes, we are accepting citizens from Russia. In the case of Dominica, they may not have gone that route. They may have just had the people quietly accepting people from Russia. And then they also seem to have an issue with Chinese as well and one or two other countries. So it can be that those are the reasons. And we're saying we know for a fact in Grenada case, it's because they were taking Russians under the program. No if, what, or but about it. So when the Prime Minister says he don't want to say, when he says he don't want to say, he has a right to don't want to say because he go incriminate himself. Because he can't say it's not because of that, because it is because of that. Not the CBI program, not having a CBI program, but taking Russians under the CBI program when they were under sanction by the United Nations. Why do you think we lose the E2 visa to the United States? We lost it because this government decided that they're going to take Russians under the CBI program at a point in time that Russia was under sanction. So we lose that E2 visa that we could have gotten to go to the United States and conduct business. We lost that. Yeah? So don't try to give the impression. Don't try to give the impression and try to twist the story back onto the NNP from 20-something years ago. Don't try that. Come on, be a man. Stand up, admit that what has happened, you take responsibility, and you're working towards solving that problem. Just do that. Yeah, because meanwhile, those of us that would like to visit Canada, we still have to travel down to Trinidad to go and get everything do. We have a caller online. Good night.
Mr. Scott, good night. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm quite fine. How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
All right.
Based on what you're saying tonight, I think you played that clip some time ago with Mr. Tillman Thomas when he was campaigning for the 2008 election.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned about the because of the policies of the NNP, we cannot get visas to go to Canada.
Yeah.
But then after the election, when he went to Canada and he saw what happened, he came back and he said the reason why we cannot get a visa to go to Canada is because people go in and stay. You have that clip there to play? Because what the Prime Minister said there in that interview, he forgot what Mr. Thomas said.
And I would tell you that I'm trying to remember the exact debate we had in Parliament. And I challenged, Nazim Burke made that statement about due to the NNP we lost the visa. And I challenged him and he could not answer. He had to sit down there and say, well, yes, because I was able to quote what he said when they met with the Canadian authorities and what the Canadian authorities said. And it had nothing to do with a citizenship by investment program and criminals and that sort of thing. Okay, it had to do with Grenadians overstaying their time.
I think you should get it and play it. Let people hear. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I'm listening.
All right. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, brother.
440-7377. That's the number to call and get on to the inside. And yeah, you see how I have the thing set up now. It's a bit difficult to grab clips at last notice and put it up, but I could get it for tomorrow's program. I can get those clips for tomorrow's program. I sort of change up how the system operating. As I told you all, operating right now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens. Yeah, two, and one. Well, 6 and 2 this way. All right. So it's kind of difficult to get that at this point in time. But yeah, again, sometimes they're lying. Sometimes they're just avoiding telling the truth. And this was just a way that they were avoiding telling the truth. You didn't meet with Justin Trudeau. Come on, just admit you didn't meet with Justin Trudeau. Don't try and blame NNP. We have a caller online. Good night.
Yeah, Mr. Scott.
Hi.
In that interview there, the Prime Minister that Grenadians will have to go to Trinidad, St. Vincent, or St. Lucia to do the visa business.
Yeah.
Right. He's speaking on one side of his mouth because that is the same government that said the nail technicians, the barbers, and the hairdressers have to be certified. They have to be certified in Barbados or Trinidad. So how you work on that one?
Yeah, because there's no certification here. Well, they can be certified through the NTA here. That's one way. But the only place with barber schools and so is you go down to Trinidad, you go to a barber school and you get certified there. Or you're correct, Barbados, St. Lucia, one of those places with the barbering schools or so.
Them guys and them, they speak, to people that would laugh with them. I would drink me liquor and laugh with them too, I have no... You're laughing? I have no problem with that, But when you ask them, so we sit down here drinking, how you think I get it $2 to buy the liquor? No. You have to tell them as it is. Straight face. You want to owe them a penny? I don't wear jersey and thing, I don't wear color, man. White and jeans, I just wear white t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
All right.
All right. Thank you so very much, my friend. Yeah, and listen, I don't expect some people who have been interviewing the Prime Minister to ask him the kind of questions that I might ask him. That even, let's say, he won't go, I could tell you. And I hope they invite him. Since he's making the rounds to the media, I hope that he goes to Real FM. I really hope that he avails himself of an opportunity that I know the door is open and the mic is open, the chair is set for him to go, because Mr. Tillman Thomas, when he was Prime Minister, he used to go to Real FM. So go to Real FM. Yeah? And they will ask him the pertinent questions. I heard them asking him about CBI and all sorts of things. Not one of them had the belly to ask him, Mr. Prime Minister, are you a CBI agent? Mr. Prime Minister, we'd like to know, have you either directly or indirectly benefited from the Grenada CBI program or any other CBI program between the 23rd of June and today? They wouldn't ask him that question. I would ask him that question. And based on his answer, I would ask him if the company, Mitchell and Partners, Mitchell and Company, whichever one that is involved in the CBI program is attached to him, if he's the beneficial owner or a part owner, and therefore the monies that that company makes, are they making it in his name? And then I would ask the question, if he has any idea how much that company, Mitchell and Partners, has earned between June last year and this year. Have they stopped dealing with CBI? Have they stopped dealing? Because up until a week or so ago, the Prime Minister's name, direct email address was still listed under the Grenada CBI program. We spoke about it for weeks. They only decided to move it when they find we quiet down on that issue for a little while. Yeah? So they would not ask the questions that we would ask. They can't. In some instances, it seems as though they were given a script. They were told what days were we going and talk about, because you realize that they ask a question and before the question could finish fall out the mouth, you realize the Prime Minister start to answer. It seems a bit rehearsed to me. Yeah? If they do that, that's up to them. Not everybody would do like me and just have questions in my head and be able to say, well, I ask you this question, that question, the other question, and so. Right? So you can't be upset with them, you know. You can't be upset. You can't be upset with Aruna. You can't be upset with Mikey. You can't be upset with Colin Dowan. So you can't be upset with them. They don't have the belly. They don't have the guts to do the things that need to be done now. They don't have it. So they cannot go and ask the man those. And it's not that you're trying again. I think some people misunderstand this thing. It's not about embarrassing the Prime Minister and you embarrass the Prime Minister. It's nothing about that. It is that as a Grenadian, you are hearing things and you would like to have answers to it. If it's so, say it's so. If it's not so, just say it's not so, but don't avoid the question and you're refusing to answer it. We have a call online. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon. Good night to the Talking Point family members and the new National Party supporters on the live tonight. I hope all is well and everyone is remaining focused and we are getting the target turnout for registration, first of all.
Yeah.
Listen to the conversation tonight. I had an opportunity to watch to the point, not to the point, but the interview with Aruna, as well as a little bit of the interview with Mikey live, Mikey, and the kind of question that these persons are asking. Mikey supposed to be quote unquote a journalist. I'm not sure how competent he is because I'm still waiting for the hard questions that I need to hear asked the gentleman, the good gentleman who was the Prime Minister of Grenada. Well, pretty much the character Grenada, as he was saying from the beginning. They're not asking anything much about the CBI. They're not asking a lot of hard questions about how they're really functioning, how competent his team are as MPs in the different ministries. Because what I'm seeing going on right now in Grenada is more or less a set of square pegs in wrong holes. They are so incompetent, it makes you shame to say that you're Grenadian sometimes, you know, because it's far from a cry. Because when they campaigned, what they campaigned on, we are not seeing that really delivering. 1 year of honeymoon, that is way too much they're getting. And if that's how they intend to remain in office for the next 4 years, we are in for a set of jokers. They're a pack of jokers. You know, in every card there's a pack of jokers. There's a joker. They are the jokers in the pack of cards. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, caller. And that's the thing, Francis. Yeah, they don't have belly. They don't have guts. No, they can't ask those kind of questions. And again, I think there's this misunderstanding where some folks believe that asking those sort of questions would be embarrassing or attempting to embarrass the Prime Minister. It's not embarrassing or attempting to embarrass the Prime Minister. He ought not to feel embarrassed to come out and speak the truth to the Grenadian people. There's no embarrassment in speaking the truth. The truth is the truth is the truth. Speak the truth. Yeah? The GDB loan, none of them had the belly or the guts to ask him to clear up how 2 government ministers got loans, multi-million-dollar loans from the GDB. None. Again, they're not journalists, so maybe that's the reason why. We've got a caller online. Hello?
Good night, Senator Scott.
Hey, how you doing, boss?
How you doing, man?
All right.
I listen to Mikey, you know, and Mikey is a little journalist I like. But I was waiting for Mikey to ask the question that we're discussing tonight about the CBI program. And I think it's one journalist who would ask this question was Mikey. And I lost my bet.
No, I think, brother, that they probably think that to ask that question would be a negative thing. It would be embarrassing to the Prime Minister to ask him that question. It's not embarrassing. It's Grenadians' business. We need to know if our Prime Minister is involved.
Sheldon, we want to hear what the Prime Minister is going to say. He's very clever. I know he's very smart, but he's a very clever young man. He seems to act like Donald Trump. I'm no politician, so he's going to say what he wants to say. You understand? And he doesn't care. But when you get him in a corner to ask him that question, ask him if his company is involved in the CBI, and if the Minister of Finance is involved, and who else is involved. Come on. Because later on, Sheldon, that might be the same thing to take him down, you know. So he better solve that problem now. Because the world doesn't play, you know. They're listening. You know?
Oh, I know they're listening. I know they're listening.
Yeah. We might survive months ahead when they start to question the Prime Minister of Grenada, where he should have run to answer that question before. But instead of dodging, and I don't know why they're not asking him that question. I listened to about 3 of them program, and nobody going there. Nobody go. If it's a wrong, it's a wrong. Let him explain it to the Grenadian people. Mr. Prime Minister, we all love you. We want you to do well. But you must answer the question, even though they don't ask you. You speak about it. Tell them the reason why your name was there still. You understand? Be a smart politician, and then you're going to say you're not a politician. You understand? And you're young, and you went to college and teach or wherever you went for do a little thing, how you say your thing. You know? I know you're a very clever person. You have all the answer how you're going to fix Grenada. Dr. Mitchell left for 30-something years and you don't have all the answers. And you came in a few months, you have all the answers. And what you tell us, and we ask you, you don't answer it. You don't want to meet journalists, you just hide it, now you're going on the station and do what you want. Not that's what we want. Call press conference. Let all journalists pack up in the room to ask you a question and answer it.
Yeah, and
because you seem
one of my listeners just messaged.
Everything is about you.
Mm-hmm.
Why you run a country and it's not about your ministers? And when Mikey asks you if you go shuffle your cabinet, you're not even smart enough. They'll tell you, you jump out. No. You understand? Just tell Mikey something I'm thinking about. Kill the talk. Be a politician. Anyhow, Sheldon, you have a good one and continue the good work, bro.
All right. Thank you so very much, my brother. Yes. Let me say a special good night to Patricia and Matthew. I'm saying a special good night to Patricia and Matthew out there in Canada. Eh? Patricia, you know why? Eh? Special good night to you and Matthew. And let me say this. As one of the listeners has just messaged me, they're asking, the Prime Minister was not even asked about the medication situation. Another listener is saying that all of them seem to have toed the line, and I'm not saying that they are journalists. Some of them may be media personnel. That doesn't necessarily make them journalists. But they're saying that they found that many of these people toed the line. So you ask about healthcare, and he's speaking about all these futuristic plans for healthcare, but yet still we have a medication problem in the medical facilities. What did he have to say about that? They didn't ask. We have a call online.
Sheldon, good night.
Good night.
Sheldon, I've listened to this caller recently there.
In case people don't make out this mosque, eh?
I've listened to that recent caller a while ago asking for the Prime Minister to answer the question and hold press conference. My brother, I would like to hear answers as well. But I would like to say this as well. How would he answer if he does not have any answer to give. You can get the answers through their way of governing, their style of leadership, and the way in which they're doing things. That is all I have to say, Sheldon. That is all I have to say. These men have no answers because they are a bunch of experimenters and they don't know what the hell is going on. That's all I have to say, Sheldon. I don't want to stay too long tonight.
The voice look like he get in trouble too, man.
Yes, you real bad.
Call back if you want to. No problem, brother.
All right, brother.
Yes, indeed. 440-7377. And the thing is this. You won't shuffle a cabinet like that. I mean, folks, you all understand the cabinet we have, right? He ain't shuffling that cabinet, you know. You have a minister that went before the nation and tell them that she is the keeping the 150. People continue to receive the 150. Not keeping it because it ain't supposed to go. But they would continue paying the 150. 6 weeks later, that didn't happen. So it's between she lie, them lie, or all of them crazy. Right? But anyhow you take it, that minister, yes, Senator Gloria Thomas. So it's between she lie, them lie, or all of them crazy. Again, those selections. Right? You have a minister of health. Big failure. People asking for the ambulance, dying before ambulance. All kind of nonsense. Put them in private vehicle to bring them. You have the situation with the medication. Yeah? You have the situation with the doctors. You have the situation with the nurses. You have all of these situations taking place. And you're telling me that that minister is so competent, so good at his job, that you're not looking to shuffle him? So you're telling me the minister who's supposed to be in the office but is being blast, drinking all day and spending money like in the slot machine whole time instead of being in the office. You're telling me that that minister should remain in the ministry that they are in? They're competent. You feel people ain't see everybody seeing them day. Every day. So you telling me that no shuffling? What about the Minister of Climate Resilience? Billions of dollars out there in climate resilience. Grenada ain't get 10 cents since that person become minister that they went and get. But you're telling me everything is okay with them? Nah, we are. I mean, and you ain't you shuffling that cabinet? Man, they had to really. We have a caller online. Oh, and we lost that caller. They had to, I mean, come on. You really intend to shuffle that? I mean, okay, let's look at some before I take another call. Let's look at something here. Just another lie. Again, you know the lighting go with them, right? So let's just look at another one here quickly. During the interview with Mike, he spoke about contracted workers, and the Prime Minister made this statement. And I want you all to listen very carefully to the statement that the Prime Minister.
And it's not just a contract system, but having policies where someone is clearly a worker and you call them a contractor, and then you tell them they have to pay their own NIS, right? And what that means, and let's be real, if someone has to pay their own NIS, what is the chances of them doing so? Right. Especially if the salary already is low. And so the ripple effect of something like that is that NIS itself has less funds, but you also make that person vulnerable because then they don't get sick leave, they won't get maternity leave, they wouldn't get any compensation if they had a fatal accident at work, and then there's no pension when they get to the point where they retire or they've worked the length of years. So things like that. And sometimes we don't really appreciate the impact of these kinds of policy decisions in the medium to long term. So I think that surprised me a bit.
So folks, that's the Prime Minister saying that it's wrong to make contracted workers pay their own NIS. The Prime Minister of Grenada, Mr. Deacon Mitchell, today, this morning, was saying that it's wrong to ask contracted workers to pay their own NIS. Right? Well, I know this letter is dated the 20th of January 2023. This letter is not dated 2022 or 2019. It's dated January 20th, 2023. And it says, following discussions with personnel from the National Insurance Scheme, management has taken the decision to terminate with immediate effect the payment of monthly remittances on behalf of any individual who has been engaged via contract for service agreement. The NIS has advised that this practice causes many challenges for these individuals as mixed signals are sent when it occurs. Consequently, contractees are advised that they should make their own payment to NIS so as to avoid any ambiguity which may result from government making payments on their quote-unquote individuals' behalf. Service providers are further advised that in order that contract renewal could be affected if proof of payments to NIS for the last contract period is not provided, please be guided accordingly. That's from the Division of Youth, Sport and Culture. That memorandum was sent on the 20th of January 2023, right, to all contracted personnel, and the subject matter was cessation of submission, National Insurance Scheme remittances on behalf of persons who are engaged via contract for service. So maybe the Prime Minister don't know what Ron doing down there in the Ministry of Youth. Maybe the Prime Minister don't know. Yeah, the same Ron who up to now, they haven't come back to tell us about him doing contracts through the party office. Yeah, the constituency office, he hasn't. Remember, they were supposed to investigate and come back to us on that. We ain't hear nothing up to now. Have you? None of the media people would ask him that question. I would. Yeah? That at this meeting on this date, you said that you would get back to the media in relation to that issue. Not even the journalist who asked that question. I am pretty sure she has not got a response in relation to it. And the media on a whole has not gotten a response in relation to that. What they're doing, they're playing for time. If enough time pass on it, they believe everybody going to forget it. So just forget that. Just don't bother to respond in relation to that. Leave that day. Yeah? So the Prime Minister speaks about what was being done and people who are contracted by the government, government should be paying the NIS for them and so maybe he didn't see this letter. So Prime Minister, we know you look religiously at this program. You may want to refer to this letter the next time you open your mouth to speak about contracted workers under the new National Party having to pay their own NIS. Yeah? And that this letter came out means that officials from your government had discussions with the NIS and were told the reason that it is being done in that manner. And you still come back today, the 14th day of June, 2023, and making statement as though what was being done was wrong. And your government, yes, your government, the government that you are head of, you are the chairman of cabinet and the prime among ministers, the prime minister. Your government is doing the same thing that you today say wrong to do. So take a clap for that one. Good job. Yeah? That is what they're doing. You understand the hypocrisy we're talking about here? You understand what we're talking about has been happening in our country, that we cannot even trust the words of the Prime Minister, that he spends all the time on all these programs. Up to now, have you heard him call the names? Thank you, Marilyn. Have you heard him call the names of the different ministers? I've listened to those things. I haven't heard him saying, well, Minister so-and-so has been doing a good job. Well, Minister Lacrette, and we're proud of him, and we're proud of this minister, we're proud of that. Instead, when he asked the question about cabinet reshuffle, he shifted the question onto the permanent secretaries. So them permanent secretaries and them, like if there is some sort of mistrust between the cabinet and the permanent secretaries, because that's what came out from that discussion for me, that there is some level of mistrust between the cabinet of Grenada and the permanent secretaries. So that the permanent secretaries are blocking them carrying out things that they're supposed to do. In other words, they're already looking for an excuse for not being able to do things. Huh? They're already looking for an excuse for not being able to do things. So anything positive, they take praise for it. We do that, and government is a continuum. Anything that goes bad, blame NNP. NNP was in power when that happened. Or NNP that had put that in place. Yeah? I was very surprised. I actually heard them mention today that the ceremony that took place today between Flo and the government of Grenada for the JUMP program, which is going to provide low-cost internet for 1,500 households throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Yes, low cost. I think you're going to be paying about $30. So those are households that have been engaged in not able to pay, and you want to ensure that the children and the people in those homes have access to the internet. So working along with Flow, there's that program that's going to provide internet for as low as $30 for those homes. No, not for those of us that might be able to afford the normal internet. That is not for us. That is for the people that really can't. And you think that is an initiative of the National Democratic Congress? No. Some of you may need to take your mind back to when CES was announced. You remember when the first announced CES program and so? And all of the stimulus measures that were taken? That was one of the stimulus measures that were taken. The low-cost internet, because during the COVID pandemic, it was noticed that because you had to go online, many children were being left behind because they did not have access to the internet. Many children. So that is when Cabinet took the decision to have the JUMP program put in place. Right? So now you're seeing the official signing and everything taking place of it. Yeah? And you're seeing it at least for 1,500 households that are in need. They may have children there and they don't have the internet, or they can't afford the internet and so. So you find the children have to stay back in school later because they need to use the internet there, or they have to go to a community center or to a friend's home because they need to use the internet, or they're borrowing the neighbor Wi-Fi. Yeah, people just borrow the neighbor Wi-Fi. Borrowing the neighbor Wi-Fi, and no. They would be able to have their own internet, a device that would be placed in their home. Yeah, they run the lines and everything. They have a device in their home. But I don't know if they're running lines because they could do it wirelessly too. But they would be having the internet in their own home. No, it is not an initiative of the National Democratic Congress. It is not an achievement of the National Democratic Congress. It is the brainchild of the new National Party during the COVID pandemic to ensure that each and every person that needs to have, not just children, sometimes you might have the elderly that need to be able to contact people and communication purposes and so on, right? The disabled that may need it because, you know, disabled people who can't move about and so, could stay at home and earn money using the internet, you know. Yeah, telemarketing and all sorts of things. They can stay home and make money. They are differently abled, not disabled. They are abled differently. So they can be able to do that from home with the internet. So this is providing the opportunity for internet for 1,500 people. Again, an initiative of the new National Party. It was alluded to by the Prime Minister, but it wouldn't come out directly and say, yeah, this was put in place by the NNP. We're just signing for it now. No. They ain't had enough guts and belly to come out and say that. No. So they're still saying it in that kind of way, and you're going to see all the people jumping on radio programs tomorrow. Oh, this is an achievement. Oh, this is such a good thing. And I want to congratulate the NDC administration. No, you could congratulate the government. And government is a continuum because that was conceptualized and all the things were put in train by the new National Party administration. All right? Just thought I would clear that up today. But again, you see the hypocrisy of the NDC administration is lie, and the next thing is greed. Because you're having people who come into office and the first thing they could think about is to increase their salary. Yeah? The first thing they could have thought about is increase their salary. Let me say something. Because some people say, oh, you're only talking about that. The way to deal with that would have been the same way that they dealt with it sometime back in, I think it was the 1990s or so. That you have a commission that looks at what the salaries of Grenadian parliamentarians are, that also takes a look regionally and other countries of similar size and economic status to Grenada, looks at those countries and makes a determination of what the best salary would be for Grenadian parliamentarians. But you can't do it in a vacuum. It can't just be for parliamentarians. What about all the other people within the public service? Yeah? What about other categories of workers? So in the same way that you're looking at one category of people yourselves, you have to look at everybody else at the same time so that you would modify your salary, but you modify everybody else's own as well, considering the cost of living, inflation, all of these things. Yeah? So that is the way that you do it. But they just reach in, they will look left, they look right. That money I'm working for, well, it matter. By my next paycheck, fix that. So they get $2,000, non-taxable. They give the nurses a $400 and something, taxable. But they get theirs with no tax on it. They're getting it wrong. $24,000 a year. They could leave in the bank. They could do whatever they want with. No taxes on it. The Prime Minister ain't take. He say he want that he have state vehicle and thing, and that's for transportation. So he ain't take because they put it as traveling allowance. Yeah? But maybe he don't need to take because we don't know what's going on with CBI, innit? We asking the question, maybe he don't need to take a 2,000 day because remember, the man has a CBI company, he has shares or whatever in a CBI company, so we don't know because he was traveling in relation to CBI and those kind of things too. We don't know. So probably he do have to take the 2,000, the rest take it. All well and good, right? By the same token, the way it was done, the timing it was done, it's just greedy. It's just a come in. Let me see how I could full my pocket quick. Because next thing NNP come back in power and I lose out. We have a caller online. Hello, good night.
Oh, good night.
Hi, good night.
Yeah, Mr. Scott, I hear you speaking about inflation and stuff. But the only party that came in power during that time and raised minimum wage, and for the long time, you guys was in power. You guys never had to look at minimum wage. So, I mean, the NDC coming and doing that is not something wrong. I mean, if they
no, I think you may have misunderstood me, caller.
I think look at raising minimum wage and raising minimum wage.
No, I think you may have misunderstood me, caller. I did say that I'm speaking about the parliamentarians here. That it should have been. Hold on. I said it should have been.
You said they should do it. You said they should do it across the board.
Yes, it should be a holistic.
Do it for everybody.
Yeah, it should be a holistic thing that you don't just take a decision in cabinet for yourself.
What I'm saying is that, but you guys was in power for so long, and you guys never did nothing to cost of living or to adjust minimum wage to the people.
There were several measures that were taken to adjust for the cost of living. Even during the COVID crisis, several measures were taken. Adjustment to taxes on various things, concessions in relation to different things for businesses that would set up in Grenada and provide things that are lower cost for Grenadians. Concessions through the GIDC to businesses in the agri-sector. All of these things were done. Maybe you didn't hear about them, but they were done.
For the poor man, right?
Yeah.
For the poor man.
Now,
right?
what these would do is they would cause the cost of items in Grenada to go down. Because if you have agro-processors here, for instance, making juice, you don't have to buy it from outside of Grenada, which is why that was done.
No, minimum, what we are working for in Grenada here, right? For the long time you guys was in power for, right?
It was not alone that was in, but before you go forward, it was not alone in power.
Cost of living is way higher than the minimum wage.
But we're not saying that NNP alone was in power. There are other parties that was in power.
You guys reigned for the longest. You guys was in power for the longest.
Yes, and my friend, maybe you're new to the program, so you may not have heard me on this program encouraging people to go to the present discussions that are taking place in relation to minimum wage. I myself have been listening to it. I myself have been listening to it. I myself have been very impressed by the presentations that are being made by average Grenadians, not from the head table. Me already care what the head table had to say, but from people who are working within the hospitality sector, from people who are working within the healthcare sector. I've been very impressed by what they have been saying, and I, on this program, have been encouraging people to go to that discussion. Nothing is wrong with that. We have a call online. Good night.
Shalom, good night.
Hi.
Where this one come out?
No. Don't listen. No. Don't do that. I'm gonna cut off if don't do that. Don't somebody call and think don't allow the individual to become the discussion for the rest of the night. We have to be wiser than that. Yeah? Let us not get into that kind of back and they call and then all of us start to call and quarrel about them, and for the next half hour all they're doing is discuss the person that called. Let's not do that. I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to allow it to happen. Forget that. Yeah? Forget it. Several measures were taken under the new National Party to address the cost of living over the years. Yeah? the 2021 budget, the 2020 budget, all of the different budgets, there were always measures that attempted to address the cost of living. Yeah? But what we have seen since the COVID-19 crisis, and together with that, the war in Ukraine, it has caused a serious inflation, not just in Grenada, throughout the world. And therefore, each country on its own has to put measures in place to address it. How did the NDC administration intend to address it? Before election, they were speaking about, we are going to reduce the cost of freight on the port, and that is going to lower the cost of living for average Grenadians. You know what ended up happening? The businesses in Grenada, big businesses, made $5 million. The average poor man saw not one damn cent. None. Because it was not passed on. It was not passed on to average Grenadians. Yeah? They reduced the cost on some food items. The New National Party did that as well. Even in 2008, before losing office, with the incoming economic crisis, it was Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell that told the other Caribbean leaders, let's go in Guyana and meet on this issue of food security and all of these issues that came after he lost office. So don't try to get the impression the NNP never did anything on these issues. Yeah? Don't try to give that impression. 440-7377. Yeah, let's not make individuals come and take over your program. Be wise. Now, understand what has taken place sometimes. Be wise. Let's not do that, please. All right, I'd like to say a special good night to my good friend from Texas. Yes, saw you today. Know that you're going. Safe journey. Come back soon. All right, nice. 440-7377. Now, I have to say this as well. Yeah? We continue to realize that it's the poor people in Grenada that pay the price under the National Democratic Congress. It's always the poor people. Because the New National Party administration give it, but it's the NDC administration that take it away. And I ain't going to even go to the 2008 to 2013 period. I could deal with this NDC administration. And I spoke about one a while ago, the freight. Now that means that the government of Grenada lost $5 million. That $5 million could have gone in anything in relation to salary, medication, anything. That $5 million that the Grenada government gave up had absolutely no effect, none, zero, zilch cost effect on the price of foodstuffs for average Grenadians. No effect at all. Yeah? But businesses saved $5 million. So they made money. But the average Grenadian did not see the benefits of that move. Yeah? We have a caller online. Let's go to the phone line. Good night.
Hey, Shalon. What's up?
Hey. AC Major.
How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. You go right ahead.
Recently, the news coming out of North Korea is that the crazy comrade leader, Kim Jong-un...
But don't call a man crazy. Next thing they come down here for me.
No, don't worry. He has decreed suicide as illegal.
I agree with him.
He has said that his officials in the different provinces and counties supposed to prevent suicides from happening because it's treason against the revolution and the process in North Korea. And the reason why there are so much suicides in North Korea is simply because people are starving.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not prepared to address that at all because the young boy is really in over his head. However, I bring reference to that to say that we have a situation in Grenada now where the NDC and their apologists and supporters are telling people by their actions that it is better to die than to complain. That it is wrong to complain about the mismanagement of our resources. It seems like the NDC has forgotten that they are now dealing with the people's money. They are dealing with the VAT and the income tax that is paid into by the Grenadian people, and that is supposed to be for the work of the country. The measures that the NDC has taken has shown clearly that they are bereft of ideas. They have nothing. They have no plan in place up to this day as to how to govern, and the optics continues. They have hired, I understand, or is paying money to a certain company outside of Grenada to do PR for them. So every now and then you see them on that network pushing lies and continuing to let people think that they're doing so much when in fact they have not initiated one new project yet. And I say that loosely because even the project of sending home people was initiated by the last NDC. So they have not initiated any new project of their own yet. But they are taking credit for what is good, and anything that they have messed up, they are seeming to blame the NNP. And we have a habit, we have this thing in Grenada now, where anytime you say something you're not patriotic. I wonder if the NDC know what patriotic is. The current bunch of NDC who is in office are a bunch of refugees. Ask them why they joined NDC, why they left NDC, NNP. Ask them why they've been asking people to ask Dr. Mitchell to let them run for certain seats in the country. It is a bunch of refugees who have found themselves a little clique and a little group and being power hungry and without any idea of how country run, they're there. But that is good for Grenadians. All you fail to listen. Or you get the government you all deserve. Because it was flowing so nice, or you thought it was easy to do. And then all you realize now, wait now, that we're going to hell in a handbasket. Because who is there have no idea about what to do. And they're depending on people who failed before to be consultants, to be guides, and they can't do it. But I say this because if you have a country running good and smoothly, and you keep harassing the government in power, and you keep bawling for change, you're going to get change, you know. But you see, you got the change now, Grenada, and you don't know how to handle the nonsense that is happening. You know, I hear a guy call a radio station the other day, and he said, what? NNP was a group of criminals. And they were lying and lying and lying, and he wanted this government to stop lying. In 2 days, they're taking money from him. The same criminals had him getting his money, but these non-criminals now took his money from him. Who is the real criminal? Sheldon, have a good evening.
All right, my brother. Thank you so very much. 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get on to the inside of tonight's program. All right. And let me just get this information up here for you all, because there's one more that I want to discuss tonight. And it's one that's kind of worrying me. And I'm just trying to pull it up here. And, oh boy. And the thing is, I'm not sure which one it is in these. Let me see which one it is. Because I was listening to the Prime Minister, and he kind of confirmed something that I was hearing. That when it comes to the people who are under the Imani program right now, that those people who are working in the private sector, their employers are being given the option of hiring them or sending them home. In other words, those people are technically coming off the program, because he hasn't been saying that they're out from the private sector and therefore they're no longer under the the Imani isn't working with them. And so what I've been hearing is that some of those Imani trainees who are working in the private sector and the entity does not want to take them on board full-time are finding themselves in a situation now, right? Are finding themselves in a situation where they are being sent home. So they're mentioning that. Instead, you hear them speaking of on Friday, they are going to be having a discussion with all of the people within the public sector who are on contract and so in relation to regularization. I'm going to come to that in a short while. We have a caller online. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good night, Sheldon. What's up?
I'm quite fine. Go right
Great,
ahead.
great. Yeah, but regarding the cost effect, right, and what you call the minimum wage, but the people fail to realize that when NNP was in power, remember that they cushioned the light bill, and also there was a cap on the gas, right, and few other areas were cushioned. So you could have easily spiked. Your earning maybe was not a big one, but it was made easy for you to save $2. But now even if you go up with your salary, but the gas fluctuates and the light bill is skyrocketing, what sense does it make? It come back to the same thing, and the average grocery stuff is very expensive at this days. So all what you do, you're still going back to the high. Even how much can you put a minimum wage to? There's the next question you're asking. Because if you ask business people, right, to put up on the staff salaries, and you know how the business is today, where you go from there? That's the question they have to ask. You could pass a law, but how much people can you see going up with the salary? So if you have 10 workers, you may look to fire 3 or 2 workers and put that of the people who you're losing on the salary of the others, because it's pretty expensive. Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
Saying?
Yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my brother. Thank you. 4407377. That's the number for you to get on the inside. I'm saying what I'm saying in this context. I heard the Prime Minister making an announcement on Monday night in relation to this meeting, in relation to contract work and so on. I'd be very interested in speaking with the Public Workers Union to see if they have been engaged in relation to that meeting that is scheduled for Friday. And the reason I'm saying this is this. There is a direct attempt by the NDC administration to destroy unions in this country. If the unions don't want to see it, that's their problem. But there is a direct intent, a direct attempt to destroy unions in this country. I will definitely not always agree with unions' viewpoint. I would not agree with some of the things they do. I would not agree with many of the things they say. But I understand where they're coming from. Unions have to represent, and their leaders should be representing the workers that have them in the positions that they are. If you're in charge of a particular union, you are supposed to be going out there without fear or favor and speaking on behalf of your constituents, who are the workers that voted, the workers that pay their union dues. You have to go out there and represent them, whether you personally like it or not, whether you personally like the government or not. That is not the concern. You are supposed to be representing the workers. You saw a situation with the leader of the Public Workers Union being openly booed by workers on May Day. And he was being booed because he was speaking on behalf of who? Public workers. People who were within the service were dismissed arbitrarily and without their benefits that they ought to have received. And they were also dismissed for reasons that you're seeing people who were working in the service right now. They did the exact same thing. So it is not fair that they were dismissed, they were not given a hearing, and so on. He's speaking on behalf of them, and you have certain union leaders pushing people to go and boo him. He's speaking on behalf of workers, But now you realize what's taking place with the union leader for the teachers. He just realizing that they are using him like a boboli and that they are trying to destroy the Grenada Union of Teachers because they don't want to have to deal with no union. You think this NDC administration want to have to deal with any sort of strike? You think they want to have to deal with any significant salary negotiations and talking about increments and this kind of thing? When they put something on the table, that's what you have to take. So they put 13% and they tell all that is what you have to take. They don't want to have to deal with anybody making anybody strong enough to feel that they could strike or that they could pull all the teachers out of the classroom and tell them go and march, or they could try to shut down schools, or that public workers could just not come to work and shut down the operations of government. They don't want to deal with that. So they have decided, while they're playing friends with the union on one side, they have decided to destroy the unions. And if the unions don't want to see that the government who playing their friend stabbing them in the back while they playing their friend, that go be their problem. The unions have to represent their constituents. No matter which government is in office. Again, I said, I understand trade unionism. I understand it from the context where they come from. And I also understand that when you're in government, you have to represent your constituents, is everybody within the state of Grenada, including the same union people who paying the dues and have the trade union leaders that may be doing things like calling wildcat strikes and all these sort of things. So I understand from that context. But this government, their attempt is to destroy the union. They are union busting. For them to simply skip the Grenada Union of Teachers and go and implement a measure shows that they have no respect for the Grenada Union of Teachers. And if the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers does act the way he acted on Labor Day and so on, you could understand why they have absolutely no respect for him. Yeah? You realize they don't respect any trade union leader in this country because they believe that they have the ears of the masses and that therefore none of these unions, all of these unions have been emasculated to the point where they cannot even hold a strike. So when it comes to the Public Workers Union, you see them circulating petition to force the hand of the Public Workers Union to accept. And it is being circulated and being pushed and being organized by political operatives of the National Democratic Congress. That is taking place. They can't tell me that is not the truth. That is what's taking place. It is NDC operatives within the service that are pushing these things. And all of that is to destroy the Public Workers Union. Because it's only when New National Party in power that it does know to strike. They doesn't know about strike all now so. They know about strike. But only when NNP in power, they find any reason to strike. If you was giving them 13%, you would have heard they want 17. And then they would have strike and they would have still accept 13.5 or 14, but they had to strike first. Just to try and say, you see, we fight and we get the 0.5%. But the New National Party was not engaging in union busting. They were not trying to destroy the union. In fact, if anything, the New National Party helped make the union stronger. This government is destroying the unions. And then you're not hearing the leadership of the trade unions coming out and speak on the issues that we are speaking about, that you're hearing average Grenadians on the street speaking about. You're not hearing the trade unions come out and speak about these things. Because they are affecting their constituents too. Some of them get mute, and as I said, some of them have been emasculated to the point that a minister could stand up and say, we have spoken to the important stakeholders in relation to the Ministry of Education and the move we are going to make with the CPEA. And then you have to hear the president of the trade union, the GUT, coming out and say, well, they didn't speak to us. So you understand what the minister telling you is you're not important. We spoke to some of the principals and the schools. The Minister of Education, another incompetent one again, He's telling you basically that you're not important. If he say speak to the important stakeholders and you say he ain't speak to you, then everybody left to understand that, hey, as far as the government is concerned, because he's representative of the government, you all are not important. So you hear the struggle. Imagine, up to now, you can't convene meetings to come to a conclusion of what happened with the Karaku workers, if it was right, if it was wrong, and so on. Yeah, we know Labour Commissioner come, Labour Commissioner go, we have acting Labour Commissioner and all kind of thing. We understand all of that. But up to now, you can't have the permanent secretary in Karaku make himself available to discuss this issue. That these ladies were not given a fair hearing under common law, under labor law, under common decency, that they were not given a hearing, that you just receive letter, don't come back. And that is right. And you telling me other unions are not joining with the Public Workers Union to pick up this cause? You realize that workers are being sent to the Public Service Commission simply based on the fact that they are perceived to be supporters of the New National Party, or perceived to be friends or relatives or close to former ministers or people who worked along with the New National Party before. So people finding themselves before the Public Service Commission until they set up a tribunal, and the tribunal basically asked the Public Service Commission, yeah, Claudette's sister and them, what are you doing here? Because all you ain't set forward no case, all you just bring the young lady in front of you, what you come here for? That is the kind of thing that's taking place. And then they're using the Public Service Commission now, they weaponize it against workers. But nobody ain't talking about that. Yeah? You're not seeing the unions coming out and talk and all kind of thing. Everybody happy now. But let something significant happen and the union feel like a strike. Teachers, all you feel like a strike now? All you really feel like a strike right now? If an issue comes up and you all decide, all you feel like a strike right now? Your union has been emasculated. The same is happening to the Public Workers Union and all the other unions. Tawu, all of the other unions. They are destroying the unions one by one by one. All it was bad when the New National Party in power and Dr. Mitchell was bad. At least he had social partners. You all had representatives could have come in. You all knew what was taking place in the country, the different things that were about to happen and so on. And you all still went and strike and do all sorts of things. Yeah? But now this government doesn't even respect you all to give you all a seat at the table. Public Workers Union, let me ask you all a question. Did the government respect you all enough so that before Monday, you all knew that the regularization talks would be taking place on Friday? Because if Teachers Union having that problem, I wonder if Public Workers Union having that problem too. Are you all prepared? Have you all been briefed on what the committee set up by government in relation to regularization? Have you all been briefed in relation to that issue? Have you all been told what the intention is, what the direction they're taking is, what the time frame that they're looking at is? Because remember, we had people that say within 6 months and a year, and it's just to sign a piece of paper and thing to give people, to regularize people, you know. We had people that said that to us on the campaign trail. So is it a case that they've spoken with you all and you all are aware and you all know about all of this? Or is it a case that they just decided doing their own thing on Friday and all is supposed to fall in? That's what I want to know. Because it seems as though a pattern is developing with the government and unions. And hey, I ain't no champion of trade unions. As I said, sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't agree. There are many things that they do that I might agree with. I'm a worker too, you know. I want benefits. And I want to see other workers get benefits. But your benefits must not put the state into a position where when you get that benefit, it's going to damage the overall state, because it's not you alone. It's everybody. So I understand. But what I would not understand is how union leaders like Judas Jude and them could sit down there and allow their unions to be destroyed. Their names will go down in history. as the people that stood by and fiddled when Rome burnt. Because they are overseeing, they are managing the destruction of their own unions. That is not what public workers paying the dues for. Yeah? That is not what they're paying for, Jude. Mr. Grimes, we need to hear you. Brother Andre Lewis, we need to hear you. Where's people like the GMMIWU and all of them? Where are they now? We hear some all just running and all they sign quick. All they taking it, some all 10, 50 people in the all they went and all they sign quick and all they run out. And not realizing that the government is just emasculating your union. Yeah? Just treating all as nobody. At least they could say that the New National Party used to have meetings with them and conciliatory meetings and you have your discussions and that kind of thing and you would send what you have to send to the Labor Commissioner or whatever. At least they used to have that. Look at the way that they treat the Ministry of Labor itself, and that should tell you how they think about unions and trade unionism. You have an anti-worker government in place. You have an anti-people government in place, but there's also an anti-worker government in place. They are anti-worker. And the longer it takes you all to realize that, the more damage that's going to be done to your unions. If no other person on radio, no other person on social media going to say it for all you, I go say it. Because it is what is happening. Again, Public Workers Union, how much information did you all have about the regularization of contract workers and so on? Were you all involved in the process that has gotten to this stage now that you all are going to be having that meeting on Friday? Do you all know a time frame for the regularization of these workers and the economic impact upon the state of Grenada and the monthly wage bill? Because we realize like they're kind of struggling in and between. I think some people just tell me they just get their bi-monthly and so. So are you all aware? Have you all been engaged in the process from day one right through? Or is it a case that all you just hearing things like everybody else? Is that what is going on within the state of Grenada? Yeah? And we'll take what I think might be our final call tonight. Hello, good night.
Yes, good evening, Brother Sheldon. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm quite fine.
Yeah, listen, I was here listening to the program, and so on. But, I want Grenadians to know, especially the authority, the Ministry of Health, that the children, our Constitution did not give any specific age of any person in our country as one having the rights and the will exercised. I say this to mean that the practices that we are witnessing currently, the CPA results, okay, and those children on writing the exam, right? They had schools of their choices, so they would have indicated which school that they would wish to go to, and I believe that's their will, that's their rights to determine that the parents could guide them, or the teachers, but that's their right. Secondly, our teachers. I mean, I have issues with them, but they're hard-working people. I really get them to do the work in the classroom, they do it. Right, the after evening classes and etc. They work hard. And they have not, some of them have not understood or understand how to analyze the results that they have received. Because if everybody would go to school, to a secondary school, it means that the teachers might not have had access to the results as to see what work they have done. Finally, brother, I think we way ahead of that team of governors, those governing right now, because we have experienced a real hard-working team of our former administration. And you could have moved them anywhere. You could shift them and they would exercise maturity and good experience. Well, not experience, as I say, but good ability in working in the area that they would have shuffled them to work. You know, this team of governors, those who governing currently, all right, you realize that they have not shown us up to this time the effects of the governance. You know, I rest it here because the time is against us.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so very much, Pastor. And I need to speak to you when I'm finished with the program, huh?
All right.
Okay, great,
okay,
thanks.
I'm here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and one of the listeners just made mention here that the union thing is indeed a serious thing. What they're doing is damaging institutions. So you already see the damage that has been done to the Royal Grenada Police Force. And we're going to discuss a bit about that tomorrow night. One of the listeners sent me something there. I'm going to use it tomorrow night. I didn't get a chance to use it tonight. We're going to use it tomorrow night. But what they are doing is damaging institutions. And you're so right. Yeah? So they damaged the Royal Grenada Police Force. So you have a lot of police officers right now that are still feeling a kind of way. Yeah? Some of them threatening, well, are going to court. Because they're feeling a kind of way. Because based on either which department they were attached to, or which detail they were attached to, or who their people is, you realize that that was used as a criteria for where they were placed. And if they got their promotion. They damaged the institution of the Ministry of Education. So you see what's happening with the students right now. You're hearing parents out there. You're hearing them making noise. Well, how my child and them, this wasn't one of the choices that my child had. You take my child from St. George's and you send them in St. John's and all kind of thing. So they damaged that institution. They've damaged the media. And I need to say this. I need to take the 2 extra minutes just to say this one. Is Grenada worse than North Korea? Is Grenada worse than or becoming like North Korea? Because only in North Korea you could be afraid, or countries like that, you could be afraid to ask the leader any and any question that you have to toe a straight line. So it seems as though, and even in North Korea, as I say, before they executed us, at least give you a trial, you know, here. Right now, if you give these guys a chance, they just execute you, no trial, you know. But at least in North Korea, they give you a trial first. But here is execution without trial. So they damage the institution of the media to the point of that the Prime Minister could go parading from one media entity to the other, and you have this flowery sort of thing, and no one, and I'm not talking about the FRET program. The FRET program is that type of program. I've been on the FRET program. They ain't ask me no serious thing. It's joke thing day. Right? So that is a different thing. But when it comes to the other programs, you expect certain type of questions to be asked. But it seems as though the atmosphere of fear is so much in Grenada that you have to be afraid to ask certain questions of your leadership. So it's like we in North Korea right now. Yeah? Or we in one of those autocratic states like you're in Iraq under Saddam. Or you're in Libya under Gaddafi. Because you cannot ask certain questions of the leader. You have to be afraid to ask certain questions of the media. And woe be unto you if you are one of the very few that would stand up and talk truth to power. If you are one of the very few that would dare ask the dear leader these kind of questions, they're out for you with their knives and bombs. Folks, that's all the time we have for tonight for Talking Points. It's been wonderful being here with you. In everything you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. I am out.
So could someone try and tell me what is happening? Because yet them politicians keep preaching for the poor ones they are fighting, but not such a thing. Because every day when I make a pass by the shop, I
I could see the price keep going up on the poor one's back. And the riches, like it's mason men that believe, and like no one they can break it, so they condemn me. Because every day when I make a pass by the shop, I could see the price keep going up on the poor one's back. And the riches, like it's mason men that believe, and like no one they can break it, so they condemn me. Like it's mason men that believe, and like no one they can break it.